delightful, delicious, Delovely. My name is Christina Elise, and today I am going to be making my vegan sausage and spinach stuffed baked shells. It's not a difficult recipe, and I am going to get on with it immediately. I'm going to start with about a tablespoon or so of olive oil. This happens to be basil flavored. Not important though. I got this for $4.99 at TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx is my favorite resource for olive oils. If you watch this channel, you know that's the truth. All right, I'm going to heat this olive oil up a little bit. And while that warms, I'm going to recount a little story. I was in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, for a horror convention recently. It's called Mad Monster Party. And on the final night of a 3-day show, my friend Alex Vincent and Alex Vincent played the little boy in the Child's Play series. He was in Child's Play 2 with me. He and his girlfriend Camilla and I went to dinner, and we went to a place in Charlotte, right by the hotel called, hold on a second, I'm going to add 4 vegan sausages that I chopped up. This happens to be Field Roast brand Italian flavor. I'm going to heat this up in here even though I don't really need to because it's going to bake in the oven a little bit too, but I'm going to add some spices and stuff to it here, so I'll do it as if I need to do it in a pan. So we went to a place called Firewater, and we were celebrating. It had been a great weekend, and we don't get to see each other a lot, and we sat down, we walked in, took them a while to come ask if we wanted to be seated. It has a sort of a cute New England cottagey kind of a vibe on one side and a sort of a modern looking bar on the other. And the host was like, okay, well, hold on, I have to fix the booth for you. All right, fix the booth. I'm not sure what that means, but there was a big booth right there, and he fumbled with it for a little bit and came back and seated us. I'm a wino, as you may observe, and I looked at the wine list, and not to be a wine snob, there wasn't a single glass of wine available on the menu that I didn't know from Los Angeles sells for about $5 or $6 a bottle. I understand there's a big markup, but more importantly, I don't really want to drink a $5 bottle of wine. I tend to buy more in the 10 to 15 range. So a $5 bottle of wine is not going to be a good glass of wine. I would have paid $20 for a good glass of wine. I would have paid anything for a good glass of wine. But that was just not going to happen. All right, well, Camilla ordered a ginger ale. It came. She couldn't drink it. It was so bad. They were sitting on the other side of the booth from me, the broken booth apparently. She decided, I guess one side the wood was kind of like if you sat on it, you fell through it, so she came and sat on my side with me, and Alex tried to fix that side so she could rejoin him, and he lifted the seat up and then put it right back down really quickly and said, you guys don't want to know what I just saw underneath that bench. I correctly guessed that he saw a rat poop, which in fact he did. So we sat back down and ordered. I ordered a salad and an entree. Alex ordered escargot, a soup, bisque, and a steak, and Camilla ordered pasta and fried pickles. So I got my wine. It was undrinkably sour. It was like drinking a glass of lemon water. Camilla couldn't drink her ginger ale because it was from the bar, the little guns they have, and that ginger ale is always either too sweet or flat or it's not good. And then all of a sudden, also they had a cocktail menu that was really weird in that it would say, try our cantaloupe martini, and the ingredients would be strawberry vodka and simple syrup and like nothing cantaloupe, and all of them were like that. Blueberry pie, and it would be vanilla vodka, and like, nothing was right. So the escargot shows up. I don't know if anybody watching this channel has ever eaten escargot. It tends to show up in a silver little plate, like Indian food, those preformed metal plates, but it's got little divots in like a deviled egg plate would have for the escargot, and it's just snails with garlic butter. Or they have these ceramic shells that they put that they are reusable, and they do it in that. This looked like a pot pie. Had a crust on it and then melted cheese on top of that. Never saw escargot served that way in my life. Neither had Alex. It was another red flag. So they brought that with the bisque. They walk away, he tastes the bisque, and immediately they come back with his steak. He literally has had one bite of soup, and he's like, I don't want that yet. What do you mean? Well, he's like, I just got my soup. I don't want the steak yet. Oh, I'll take it back in the kitchen and keep it warm for you, sir. No, I don't want you to keep my rare steak warm for me while I take my time on my soup and my disgusting escargot. And I say, and I haven't even gotten my salad yet. And she responded, oh, you ordered a salad? At which point we said we need to cut bait and just take our losses and leave. And she panicked and went into the kitchen with the steak, and the manager came back and said, I'm so sorry, you guys can go, you don't have to pay for anything, you can just go. We apologized to him, so sorry, we're just so sorry, but it's just not good. He said, don't even apologize. It was like, don't even apologize, just save yourself, run away, don't look back. It was terrible, 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 terrible. So if you find yourself on the boardwalk near the Hilton in Charlotte, don't go to Firewater. Do not go to Firewater, spare yourself. All right, so to this now I'm going to add, I'm not going to add the garlic right away. I'm going to add a pinch of, this is fennel, full fennel seeds. I'm going to add about maybe a teaspoon of that. Let that cook in there. I'm also going to add about a teaspoon or two of dry oregano. I have to empty it, so there you go. Let's call that 2 teaspoons of dry oregano. And I'm going to add a little bit of crushed pepper. I'm not going to add as much as I normally would because these Italian field roast sausages are actually pretty spicy. So I'm going to add probably a teaspoon. You can blow that off if you don't like spicy food. By the way, you needn't use field roast sausage. You needn't even use sausage. You can use any other sort of meat replacement thing you prefer, whether that be a Beyond Meat beefy crumble or some seitan, some homemade seitan perhaps. I have two homemade seitan, at least 2 homemade seitan recipes, 3 on this channel. I have one for barbecue ribs, I have one for gyros, one for shawarma, chicken shawarma, and I have one for like a kind of a steak. Any other meat thing. I'm gonna just puree this later in a what do they call them? What are they called? The Cuisinart. What the fuck is it called? It's a food processor. Shit. Wow, it was hard. Really hard getting there. Food processor. So whatever you use, up to you. It doesn't really matter. All right, now I'm going to add garlic. If you watch this channel, you know I don't like to add garlic until I know that it's going to have no more than a minute on a hot surface before I rescue it with a wet thing or additional ingredients. You don't want to burn your garlic. Garlic burns pretty quickly, and burned garlic is bitter and tastes like ass. Nobody wants to eat food that tastes like ass. Okay. And to this, I'm going to add, this is a 10-ounce can of Rotel and a 15-ounce can of diced fire-roasted tomatoes. This is not a super delicate thing. You can use less, you can use more. Now here comes the tricky part. I hope I can make this all work in this pan. I am going to try to add all of this. This is 1 pound of organic baby spinach. I'm going to add it incrementally. As it wilts, I'll add more. You want to get, spinach is one of the things you want to get of the dirty dozen or whatever that you want to get organic. Some things you can't wash the badness off. Spinach is among those things, as are apples and berries and celery and some other things. Why not? There's a list right there of the ones that you want to get. If you can't afford to get everything organic, ones that are most important to get organic. Another thing, I'm using spinach because I like spinach. I also read recently that spinach is better for you than kale. I don't know. I'm not a nutritionist and I didn't bother to Google why. I'm just not a huge fan of kale. I think kale's bizarrely worshipped. I like kale. I've got a lot of kale recipes on here, but I kind of prefer spinach. It's got a nicer texture, and it tastes better raw than kale does too. So I'm a spinach girl. But again, I'm using spinach. If you prefer kale, or that's what you have, or you have arugula instead, or some other green that would work nicely with sausage. Arugula might be really nice. It's going to be a little bit, I'm going to get a lid to help steam this a bit. Lid. Stir it a little. Woo, don't jump out, little spinach. Here. Also, while I was at Mad Monster, I met a couple named Eben and Jen, and they have this Facebook page called Vegantuas. their gig is to try to dispel the notion that vegans are all pussies, frankly. That people like Rob Zombie and Doyle from a punk rock band called the Misfits, and people like myself who identify a little bit more in the badass category, if I flatter myself, but definitely not in the flower child, hippy-dippy world that, like that actually really funny guy on YouTube here. He did the how to become gluten intolerant. His gluten intolerant video. I'll put a link in the notes below. He's hilarious. The gluten intolerant one is hilarious. How you don't have to actually be gluten intolerant to be gluten intolerant. That one's really funny. The vegan one, I personally don't think it's funny, and I don't take this whole. I'm not easily offended. I belong to the Facebook page Vegans Trolling Other Vegans because I like to have a sense of humor about the whole situation. But where was I going with that? The way he portrays vegans is sort of, I think, the way the mainstream, feels about the vegan community. In all fairness, there are a fair amount of people in this vegan community that really are douchebags and really do spend much more time self-congratulating and criticizing others for not being vegan enough. If you want to hear more on that subject from me, I have an episode called "You Are Not Vegan Enough." I'll put the link up here in the name. Hear me what I have to say about that. But anyway, Vegantuas is trying to show people that you can be Rob Zombie and be a vegan. So it's not all peace signs and tie-dye, which is such a dated thing anyway. Who even, at this point in time, punk rock is the new hippie. In the 80s, people that were from the 70s and 60s were hippies, but now that's a really long time ago. I feel like if you walk around with a big giant waddy hawk mohawk or whatever, you're the modern hippie. So maybe I'm contradicting myself, but I know for sure is that I'm rambling. I'm doing a very good job of getting all this incorporated. Once I do, I'm going to put it in a food processor, and I'm going to blend in about 2 cups of vegan cheese. I happen to have found this tofutti better than ricotta cheese. I'm going to use, this is a lot of it, it's a whole pound. I'm just going to use it all in this recipe because I don't have anything else to do. I'm going to be eating these shells for a couple of days, and I don't want this to go bad, so I'm just going to put it all in here. My original recipe called for half Parmesan, half ricotta. I only have this little tiny container of Go Veggie Parmesan, which is good for many things. And I have a gigantic slab here of Miyoko's Vegan Moz. So I'm going to go a little bit, about a third of that is the Vegan Moz. I'm going to break that up into here, and I'm going to put Vegan Moz and ricotta rather than use up my little thing of Parmesan. If you guys have a good resource for large containers, I found a really large container of vegan Parmesan, but I didn't make note of where I bought it. Now it's gone, and I don't know where to go to replace it. So if you guys can tell me in the comments below where you get online, if you live in Los Angeles, where you buy it in LA in a much bigger container, or if there's a place online that you think is a good deal. All right, pretty impressive that I got all the spinach in there. So go to the Vegantuas Facebook page and follow them. They have a bunch of really great shirts. I may have them available for sale here soon. They're actually going to come on as guests in the future. Maybe they'll come on and make one of their favorite desserts or something. But you'll get to hear from the horse's mouth what their agenda is, not my rambling bullshit. All right. To this I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. I'm trying to heat off because it don't need it no more. I'm going to add salt and pepper to taste. This is pink Himalayan salt because I'm fancy. No, I'm not fancy. I just buy it at TJ Maxx and it's cheap. And pepper. All right. Now I have to bust out the food processor I'll go get that and be right back. Okay, I'm back. I took the liberty of putting everything from that pot into this food processor. I'm going to blend it a little bit. I think this might be optimistic that I can get all of this in this one thing in one batch, but I'm going to go for it. Anyway. Ooh, let's make it a mess. Alright. I'm going to add my little 1/3 of a vegan Moz. I'm going to add this stuff. I'm going to add this entire container of ricotta. Ooh, making a mess. Alright, we'll see. Probably explode hot vegan lava all over my bache fruit. Alright, didn't. Worked out great. Alright. So the next step is to put these into the shells. I already boiled some pasta and then I drained it in a colander in the sink and ran cold water of it to stop its cooking. I'm going to go get some pie pans and some red sauce and a spoon and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. One of the perils of doing a show solamente, all by myself, I do everything, I shoot it, I'm on camera, I devise the recipes, I make the recipes, I do all the talking to you, I edit everything, I photograph all the food myself. One of the perils of that when you're shooting, you don't know when the camera died. I knew it was going to die, but it died sooner than I anticipated, so I didn't record the last step of this. So what I did, actually, I got through was filling. I put on the bottom of each of these pie pans a little layer of tomato sauce. I used half some Rao's and half some Guy Fieri stuff that I had around. I then filled the shells with a spoon. I think that the sausage and spinach puree a little bit too soft for it to be convincing. It would lose its sausage texture to fool a meat eater, but I'm not fooling myself, so I'm not concerned with that. The upside to pureeing it that much is it fills the shells really soft and easy, and it stays moist and will be really delicious when it's done, kind of like a lasagna. So I filled each shell with the mixture, and then I poured some extra sauce on top. The sauce amount on top is totally up to you. It actually is wet enough that it doesn't even need sauce. You could go right to a cheese if you wanted to. I like sauce, and so I did use sauce. This amount of the pound of shells and that amount of filling filled 3 of these regular pie pans. I then again topped it with the tomato sauce, and then I used the remainder of that Miyoko's vegan Moz to dolloped on top. I'm now going to do a little, this Parmesan's a little bit bunked up. I'm going to do it with my hand. Put a little extra Parm on there too for a nice extra layer of flavor. It's going to add a little salt and be a nice visual, and that's it. So the oven is 350 degrees. They're done when the cheese is melted and the sauce is bubbly and yummy looking. And yeah, I'm gonna eat one for a couple days, and I think I'm gonna give another one to my friend Rose because she has a vegan son. And that is it. These guys in the oven half an hour, or I recommend if you're gonna freeze one, freeze it not cooked, so that way it won't dry out. So if you cook it twice, it might end up being too dry. And that is it. Sorry for my rambling. I've been away for a couple of weeks. I had a birthday. My parents were in town. Hey, Hayden. And then I went to North Carolina, so I'm a little bit rusty. So please forgive the amateurism. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary of starting this channel. I don't know what I'm going to do to mark that occasion, but I'll try to think of something, and that is it, okay? This is my Twitter and Instagram handles. What's wrong with me today? Twitter and Instagram handles. I post everything about my life. You can see I met Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger. I met Lance Henriksen, who was on a great show that I used to watch called Millennium, and he was in Alien and everything else. I post photos of that kind of thing when I'm a fan of somebody's, and my dogs, and old recipes from back in the day that I haven't put on my blog yet, even things that aren't vegan, just vegetarian. Yeah, and that is it. So thank you. I apologize for the camera fuck up, and yeah, thanks. Please subscribe. Please forgive. And thanks. Bye-bye. Oh, one more thing I wanted to say before I go. Please share these, and don't share them just with vegans. Share them with people who eat meat, people who are vegetarian or full-blown carnivores. Share them and try to lure them in with some of these recipes are made sort of with meat eaters in mind, trying to make them as convincing and compelling for a meat eater as they are for vegans. So don't just think that because it's vegan, only vegans will want to eat it. Guess what? I'm not Italian. I like Italian food. So there. All right. Now I'm really going to go. Bye-bye.